Okay, I thought that was a cop. And that right there is a 2010 Mustang. And I always wanted to make a drift car out of it, so I think it's about time I make that happen. What's going on, Wolfpack? Dave here, and I'm back in Texas. Unfortunately, Texas has practically no BLM land, so I figured it's time I start getting a little wild on the pavement. And with that being said, introducing my 2010 Ford Mustang. Now, some of you avid watchers may have seen my car made some appearances, especially on like install videos for my Jeep, back when I had like my house and garage. Unfortunately, I still did not have the time or resources to put into my car and turn it into what I always wanted it to become, which was a badass drift car. I mean, who doesn't want a badass drift car, right? Like, come on.
Drift? What do you mean, drift?
Still need a dictionary?
Like, I swear, man, I spent a bunch of my early college days obsessing over this car and trying to like spec out my perfect build to be able to like send this car and do like awesome drifts. Unfortunately, I was still like very young and still under my parents' roof, at which point I had no funds and no means of achieving said goal, but I still tried. So I did mess with Plasti Dip for a bit. You know, so I plastic dipped the car, thought it was pretty badass. And then when I moved to North Texas for college, to finish my college over there, I end up in a car accident. So this lady does an illegal U-turn and crashes into my passenger side door. And so from the repairs, I had to like take off all my dip and everything. And then since then, I just left it stock as is, just red, and was hoping for like a day I'd be able to save up enough money to just like, bam, fully tune it and everything. But that day never came. But here I am. With that being said, here's a little backstory on this car. So first off, this is actually my dad's first ever like brand spanking new car. So he bought this back in the summer of '09, if I recall correctly. And he was like super ecstatic, you know, coming from a low-income immigrant family. You know, a brand spanking new car is such a big deal. And at that time, my first car was actually a 2001 Hyundai Tiburon, and it was a manual 5-speed transmission, and shoot, I love that car. And it wasn't until like I started hitting college and doing like 40-minute like drive trips to get to college that like my Hyundai and our other car started like malfunctioning. So like they weren't reliable for me to take to college, and that's when my dad started like letting me use the Mustang to take to college. and eventually became my own personal car as well. So for me, I always remember that it was like my dad's first new ever car, which is why I never sold it, because I also like value that aspect of it. Nor did I like trade it in when I got the Jeep either. Like I knew I wanted to keep this car and make something out of it. It's also kind of like an homage to my dad, because you know, it's something I would have loved to have done with my dad also, but you know, he's not here anymore, unfortunately. So deep down you could say like this is another part of me that's just like, you know, keeping my dad alive. Family. In the same sense that, you know, the Jeep and adventuring, you know, keeps the spirit of my Marley alive. Family. Yeah, it'll definitely pump my heart out into this build, you know. And two, this car was still my daily driver when Marley came into my life. And at that point, like after that point is really when like my whole like crazy drifting ideas started like subsiding, because, you know, reality was hitting. It's like, oh, I got rent, bills, and a puppy to take care of, you know.
Work was a killer. I need my chair.
Patrick, I really need my...
Tomorrow for sure.
Tomorrow for sure.
So all of that, of course, took priority, which I don't regret whatsoever. And it's with this same exact Stang that me and Marley actually started like exploring outside of Texas. We hit up Arkansas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico in this car. So even way before I got the Jeep, I didn't care about like limitations, man. Like I still wanted to get out there with my dog, and this Stang held up quite well. And it wasn't until this one day in the mountains where I just happened to like slide off the street and hit like a pothole, and it dinged up my wheel, and I had to buy like a brand new aluminum wheel. That was like the first time where I was like, okay, I may need to start looking into another vehicle. And that's how I got my Jeep. So yeah, now that I have my Jeep as my dedicated adventure vehicle, I think my Mustang is ready to be my dedicated fun haver on the pavement. So I'm planning on starting small with this build and roll into it. So right now it's currently with all its stock components straight from factory. We have never like swapped anything on this car. So I figured I can learn with its current configuration, and as I break things, which is gonna happen, then I'll upgrade the parts as necessary and take it from there. And if you know drifting, crashing is pretty inevitable, so I'm also planning on making my own custom DIY body parts for this car. So that's gonna involve me like 3D scanning body parts, putting it into a 3D modeling software and making my own designs. Then I should be able to print that and make a mold out of it, so I can make my creation come to life and be able to bolt it on to the car, no problem. So stay tuned for that. That should be interesting content. Can't wait for that. So my DIY is gonna handle aesthetics, and as far as performance, I'm gonna start with basic components that should just give me, you know, that typical boost in horsepower. So like, you know, your typical cold air intake. Suspension is definitely going to be a biggie for this one. I know this car already has a wonk on the front suspension of it, so I'm going to have to look into that and see what parts need to be gutted and upgraded, because you really don't want that type of wonk when drifting, I can tell you that. I'm also looking at changing out the gears for the back tires, because I mean, I know it's currently in stock form, but power output to those rear tires could be a little bit better. I think the current stock gear is at 3.33, and I'm looking at the 3.73 for the upgrade. And other than that, I'll just wait till I blow out the motor or something to upgrade that into like a V8 at least, because right now it's a currently stock V6 pony. So yeah guys, that's what I have planned for this car. I hope you guys are interested in this type of stuff too, because that does it for my initial thoughts on this project I'm going to be starting on. I'm excited and can't wait to start sending this bad boy like on parking lots and making like badass stunts. Other than that, I'll keep you all posted on this build and stay wild, y'all.